to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Słuchacie programu Your Brain on Air. Program rozpocznie się wkrótce. Miłego słuchania.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and only 3 more days left of 2025. Enjoy it while it lasts, people. The most beautiful things are ephemeral. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas weekend. I had an amazing one. My car ran out of gas on the side of the road, and, I will just say this. The blizzard conditions didn't hit until like a day later, so that I wasn't freezing in the car or anything. I was on my way to my grandmother's Christmas party. I took a minute, I stopped, and I had to, you know what I mean? I had to make a detour real quick. I was leaving this dinky town, and suddenly, it starts quitting on me. I say, fuck, I was almost there. Pull over in the parking lot of some construction company on the highway, US Route 10, and then I get on the phone. I'm like, hey, Merry Christmas to the family. I make it their problem. They come out. We sort out the problem. I grab some gas outside of Walmart. We're fine as a fiddle. We end up making it on time. So I'm very happy about how that situation ended up going. So it was a big victory on my part. I had a wonderful time at the party. Looking forward to waving goodbye to 2025 here this week, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure you are too. It feels like a spirit, a time of renewal. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. There's a lot of news that we could definitely cover. A lot of stuff has dropped over the weekends. A lot of stuff that could be real, could be not. So I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to discuss some of the more pertinent informational drops we've had in the last few days. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for rejoining us on today's broadcast of Your Brain on Air. I am so glad that you're here. Let's go ahead and jump into the first story. The Lake Michigan incident, ladies and gentlemen. What do we know? What is it? And what could Donald Trump have seen happen to a newborn? If you don't know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the so-called Lake Michigan incident, I mean, a lot of people, they're talking about it. It's in the conversation. If you're not online or anything like that, you may not have heard of it. It's optional at that point as to whether or not you've heard about it. But it is something that has been meriting serious conversation, given the fact that it appeared in the files that made everybody, I'm going to be honest with you, made everybody very, very, very nervous. It refers to a serious but unsubstantiated allegation contained in the 2020 FBI tip from released from an FBI tip form released by the U.S. Department of Justice in December of 2025. It's a part of a larger batch of Jeffrey Epstein-related files. The document, file EFTA 000250110, records a complaint from an unnamed woman who claimed that she was sex trafficked in 1984 at the age of 13 by her uncle and Epstein, primarily on yachts in Lake Michigan, in the area near Mona Lake, Michigan. I mean, good area, not gonna lie. She alleged that during this period she gave birth to a newborn daughter, whom her uncle then murdered and disposed of by dumping the body into Lake Michigan. I mean, if you haven't heard of this, ladies and gentlemen, according to the tip, Donald Trump, then he was a private citizen, just sort of a fella that was making his name in the real estate market, was present during the alleged murder and the disposal of said newborn. The complaint described Trump as someone who, quote, participated regularly in paying money to force me to redacted with him, and explicitly stated that he was, quote, was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. The incidents were said to have occurred between May and September of 1984. No physical evidence, corroborating witnesses, or follow-up investigation details are mentioned in the released file, and it remains unclear if the FBI ever pursued the tips substantively. I found this lady who's going to read bits and pieces of it. It's very fascinating. Listen. There's a lot of things that are coming out in these files. There's some incidents where the FBI, literally, they will come out a couple days later with the Larry Nassar letter where they're saying from Jeffrey Epstein to him, the LN, it's fake. They're saying that already. And, I'm just going to say it's not making your journalistic integrity look any better when you continuously you release your own things. You've apparently been poring over the details for months, but yet you can't get those small details correct to where it's like, "Oh, that whole file that we released is that one's not correct. That one is unsubstantiated. That one shouldn't even be out there." I mean, if these claims are out there, I want to know who this woman is. I want her pulled into court. I want her, like, you know what I mean? There needs to be some level of deep investigation here. You know what I mean? Reliable fact-checking sources. Snopes, they emphasize that these are unverified claims from a single anonymous complaint submitted shortly before the 2020 election. The DOJ itself noted in its release that some documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims against Trump, describing them as unfounded. Additionally, the timeline raises questions. Public records indicate Trump did not meet Epstein until the late 1980s, years after the alleged 1984 events, and neither had documented ties to the specific Michigan location at the time. No credible evidence has emerged to support the allegations yet, and have not resulted in any charges or confirmed findings. Interesting, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's true. I'm not trying to say that Trump watched a newborn baby be murdered and then dumped into Lake Michigan. I have no evidence for it. I have no whatever. We're going to just go ahead and we're going to review bits and pieces of the document, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to just sit with the fact that this claim was made out there. It was submitted shortly before the 2020 election, which is interesting. You know what I mean? Read this.
He was orchestrating a deal along with my uncle where different men and a few women and girls would come to a variety of boats and yachts and pay money to force me to do blank with them while I was 13 and pregnant. Witness information, Donald Trump. Additional information, again, just trying to find out the NYPD detective on the FBI sex trafficking task force that called me a couple of weeks ago and spoke to me about some of these issues. How is contact known? He participated regularly. This is Trump now. He participated regularly in paying money to force me to blank with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. What's his address? Washington, D.C. Does that sound untrue to you? A person calling 3 or 4 weeks after they made their original complaint, after they spoke with an FBI investigator, wanting to now, after they've slept on it for 3 to 4 weeks, now they're ready to give their real name. There's no histrionics in there. There's no dramatizing in there. It's very straightforward. In 1984, when I was 13 years old, I was trafficked. My uncle, several other people, men, some women, some other girls, mostly on a yacht. There's no elaborate story, and this is actually very consistent with the way victim revelation works. She's been sitting on this forever. It was a terrible memory. Imagine giving birth at 13 years old, your uncle murdering that child in front of Donald Trump on a yacht, and then throwing the corpse into the lake. Traumatizing. Not to mention all of the other things that she had to endure. And then finally, she has the guts to say something, but she doesn't want it to come back to her. She's just giving a tip, and maybe they can investigate. And then, after having sat on it for 3 to 4 weeks, and having felt a little bit lighter for having revealed the information, is now ready to give her real name. And maybe she thought it wasn't going to go anywhere if she didn't give her real name.
I hope she does give her real name. I hope that people look into this. I hope that it's, turn over every rock, look into it, investigate it. I'm just curious about this. And I know that people will go like, why are you even asking it? And I'm going, because it's kind of important to it's important to the situation. What area of Lake Michigan? You know what I mean? I'm trying to think like what region. You have the Wisconsin coast, you have both of the peninsulas of Michigan, but then you also have you have a little bit of Indiana and Illinois. You know what I mean? Was it like a north suburb of Chicago or something where this happened? I'm just curious. And also I would like to ask, what is the purpose of killing the kid and then dumping it in the lake? Is this like, is it ritualized? Is it some sort of like, I don't understand the gain. And I listen, if she's able to bring up a list of people who can maybe corroborate her statements, if she's able to get together a list of witnesses, if she's able to put something together, absolutely look into it. Why not? I don't care. That sounds fine. If a baby was thrown into the lake, I want to be the first person to know. I'm going to be honest with you. Listen, I would love to bring this point up, and it's just kind of like it's a secondary point, but it's also one that's really important. Like, are any of us any better? Like, in actuality, look deep in your hearts, and you're like, man, I ate McDonald's the other day. You're like, I have a diamond ring for my engagement ring. That was probably mined by some African child. You know what I mean? In some Libyan diamond mine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna ask the important human question: are any of us any better if Donald Trump really did do this? If he really did watch a newborn baby, given birth to by a 13-year-old surrogate, this is just nuts. This is eyes wide shut. Like, if this is true, I don't even know what to say. I think the only thing I can say is, are any of us any better? Because just like Donald Trump, it's like he's just turning a blind eye to this. Who knows? Maybe he went to this camp thing to get like, hey, we have Trump Tower Chicago planned, and we just need some of the financing thrown together. And then he goes to this place in, I don't know, northern Michigan or something, and then suddenly people have like daggers and they're putting them in newborns, and he's just going, whoa, I just came here to get financed. And maybe that's the situation. And then at that point, be honest with me. Be really honest with me, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't you also just crack a Diet Coke? Like, if that, by the way, you're too deep. You're already too deep, because at that point you look just as guilty as the rest of them, and you go, well, fuck it, actually. It's just like, okay, well, I guess I'm already in. Like, I already watched the crazy shit. And if I go to the cops, they're going to be like, well, you have a history of photos of this guy with you and them together, and they'll say that you were at the parties and whatnot. There's, like, why not just... Listen, I know that a lot of people are going to have something to say about this, and I would too. I would too if I was unenlightened, but I just want to put it this way. Are any of us any truly better? Would you really walk away from the ritualistic sacrifice if they said, "Hey, you get a yacht in a couple months if you keep working with us"? Like, it's the human nature. I think that's what Trump will be remembered for, is his exposure of the human nature, of the nastier parts of human nature. But that's the beautiful and sad parts of his presidency, is that it's a deep reflection on the human nature that we all have inside of us. It's interesting. It's fascinating, isn't it? I actually, it's awkward. It's really awkward to read the sponsorship right now, because this sponsorship had nothing to do with today's first story. It's just that I have these guys on a schedule, and if I don't read theirs by like whatever, they're threatening to pull the money. And like, I bought a new mic with the sponsorship money they gave, so it's already like I can't give it back. So it's too late. So ladies and gentlemen, just bear with me real quick. Are you tired of the hassle of surrogacy contracts, 9-month waits, and all those pesky emotional attachments? Introducing Buy a Baby, the revolutionary new service that delivers fresh, ethically sourced infants straight to your ceremonial altar. No questions asked. No strings attached, except the ceremonial ones, of course. Why bother with prenatal classes and baby showers when you can just skip right to the good part? The dramatic midnight offering under the blood moon. Our premium selection includes a variety of ages, blood types, and astrological signs to perfectly match your coven's exact standards. Ladies and gentlemen, free express shipping in unmarked black vans ensures total discretion, because nothing ruins a ritual like nosy neighbors spotting a stroller. At Buy a Baby, we pride ourselves on sustainably sourced and convenient babies. Every purchase supports our innovative one-and-done program, eliminating the costly long-term commitments of traditional child rearing. No more college funds, no more awkward parent-teacher conferences, just pure, unadulterated, sacrificial bliss. Choose from our deluxe packages: the Screaming Lamb for classic volume, or the Silent Offering for stealth ceremonies, or the exclusive twin set for those ambitious double invocations. Satisfaction is guaranteed with the next soul binding, and it's on us, ladies and gentlemen. Order today and receive a complimentary obsidian dagger used by Donald Trump allegedly himself, and an incense starter kit provided by Ghislaine Maxwell. Buy a baby, because some rituals shouldn't require a waiting list. Void where prohibited by daylight, morality, or law enforcement. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to hop into our next story because it's important. If you're not familiar with the Midwest region, if you're not familiar with the eastern half, or the western half of the Rust Belt, eastern half of the Great Lakes region, it's been ridiculous here, people. Dangerous winter weather has been wrecking homes. It's been causing major travel disruptions. As of December 29th, a powerful winter storm system, described by the National Weather Service as a rapidly intensifying low-pressure system or potential bomb cyclone, has brought severe weather across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes region. Blizzard warnings are in effect for parts of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and other areas, with heavy snow, wind gusts of 40 to 60 miles per hour, and up to 75 up near Lake Erie. With whiteout conditions creating life-threatening travel hazards. Over 20 to 30 million people remain under winter weather alerts, and snowfall total exceeding 12 inches in many spots, and up to 2 feet possible along the south shore of Lake Superior. Lake effect snow bands persist downwind of Lakes Erie and Ontario, adding 3 to 14 inches locally into early next week. The storm has caused significant structural and infrastructural damage, primarily through high winds and ice accumulation. Strong gusts have led to widespread power outages, with over 115,000 customers affected across the upper Midwest, and states late December 28th, including tens of thousands in Michigan alone. The NWS is highlighting risks of tree damage from ice and heavy wet snow, as well as potential downed power lines contributing to outages, while no widespread reports are homes being wrecked. In a catastrophic sense, have emerged. A combination of damaging winds and ice has prompted localized warnings for structural impacts, such as fallen trees on residents. Travel disruptions have been severe amid the post-holiday rush. Thousands of flights faced cancellations and delays nationwide, with over 3,000 affected on December 28th alone, and more than 1,500 cancellations reported by the evening, impacting major hubs like the Chicago O'Hare, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Detroit, and other regions. On roads, whiteout conditions prompted closures, including parts of the I-35 in Iowa, and numerous crashes in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Authorities urge avoiding travel, describing conditions as potentially deadly. I was on my way home the other day, traveling. It was December 28th, and it was later that afternoon, and yeah, the whiteout conditions, I could barely see, I would say 50 feet in front of me. The overpass would barely come into view, as you were about to be underneath it. Conditions were pretty gnarly. It was intense, but I've lived here all my life, so I was able to handle it, interestingly enough. The system is shifting eastward, with lingering lake effect snow and high winds expected through Tuesday in the eastern Great Lakes, Buffalo, Cleveland region, along with bitterly cold wind chills. The NWS emphasizes monitoring updates as Arctic air will deepen with a cold snap. No fatalities have been widely reported yet, but the storm's intensity is gonna continue making conditions worse if you don't look out, folks. I'm going to play this clip from CBS News. It's not looking good. It's not looking like it's going to get any better anytime soon, is what they're saying. Damn it, play.
Begin with that
damaging winter weather. Tens of millions of Americans are under weather alerts today as a strong winter storm moves into the Northeast. Over the weekend, a so-called bomb cyclone, which is a storm that rapidly intensifies, dumped heavy snow in the Midwest and Great Lakes, creating dangerous blizzard conditions in parts of Minnesota. Traffic stopped on Interstate 35, and Governor Tim Walz called the National Guard to help crews deal with hundreds of crashes. Across the border in Iowa, a whiteout caused treacherous conditions, including in the ironically named city of Clear Lake. It's pretty hard to see there. And
That's not ironic, because the lake is clear. You can see in... Is she dumb? Clear Lake. No. It's not Clear Air. If it was named Clear Air, then it would be ironic, but it's Clear Lake, because the lake is clear, and it's frozen. Okay, whatever.
Illinois, the cold weather developed into suspected tornadoes, ripping apart several homes. CBS News national weather correspondent Rob Marciano has more on the brutal conditions and their impact across the country.
Across the upper Midwest, up to a foot of fresh snow and winds howling at 60 miles an hour, creating treacherous travel from North Dakota to Iowa.
Lots of spin-outs. We just passed an accident over here. It's slippery.
Minnesota State Patrol says more than 300 cars slid off roads and highways in Sunday's blizzard. Multiple accidents on Interstate 35, prompting transportation officials to shut down a 140-mile-long stretch overnight from central Iowa to southern Minnesota.
People, again, just driving too fast for the conditions and not heeding warnings.
It's a nightmare. I mean, that's the best way to put it. I mean, you see...
I hate those dorks, by the way. Not driving for the conditions. I will drive as quickly as I... Listen, I will not break the speed limit if it's ridiculous outside. I will go like 55 in a 65 if it's whiteout conditions. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go ridiculous, but these Nancys that are just looking to scold you for whatever, I'm not down with that. I'm not down with that, those clowns.
People that you know, this is my community.
The storm's powerful cold front smashing into spring-like temperatures near 70 degrees, triggering tornadoes in central Illinois. One of them carving a path of destruction near Mount Zion, damaging at least a dozen homes and tearing off several roofs, leaving Lieutenant Scott Flannery stunned by the destruction.
To actually get on scene thinking it's going to be just some power lines that are down, and turn out that we have people that are losing their homes tonight.
And in the Northeast, as a new storm system heads in, another from over the weekend turned roads into a sheet of ice in Massachusetts, causing this van to roll over south of Boston and dump more than 4 inches of snow in New York City, the heaviest winter storm since 2022.
And Rob Marciano joins us now from Harbor Island Park, north of New York City, with a look at the current forecast. Rob, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Lindsay. We're here's some of that snow that we got in New York City over the past few days. It's raining now and obviously very, very foggy. We're in the warm sector of that storm, but just north of here, north of Albany and parts of northern Vermont, they got an ice storm warning that's happening because of this overrunning some of the colder air that's up there. So this storm has everything to it, as you mentioned, a rapidly intensifying cyclone where the pressures drop 24 millibars in atmospheric pressure in 24 hours. That's the technical term of it, give or take, depending on the latitude. And you see.
Cool. All right. Well, what matters is that it's leaving Minnesota, North Dakota, this region. So I'm generally unaffected by the rest of it. I'm really happy. I'm sorry for whoever it's going to slam into next. Weather events are only going to get worse. They're only going to continue to get worse. I'm not surprised by this. I'm kind of, listen, if it means that the snow will be melted by February, fine. Absolutely. If mild, absolute blizzard storms where, some people are going to be frozen solid outside, if that's the consequence of this global warming stuff, but it means that we're going to have, rainy, London-y style falls and springs from now on with no snow until late November, yes, please. Thank you. Burn more coal, please. Actually, I'd actually prefer that you continue to light our homes with coal. I'm actually going to go turn on a couple more lights. That's all. That's what I'll do. I'm going to do my patriotic duty by turning on as many lights as I can and making my electric bill as high as possible. That's what ladies and gentlemen, raise your electric bill. That is the most patriotic thing any of us can do right now. That is the most patriotic thing all of us can do. Your dad would be severely disappointed, but your country will be proud. That is my guarantee, ladies and gentlemen. I want to jump into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. There's too much to cover. There's a lot that you need to know in order to keep your media diet healthy, and this episode is already running on decently enough. You know what I mean? That half hour to an hour runtime, I tend to like. That's like a good length for episodes. If there's a lot of quantity and if there's a lot of quality in the episode, you'll see episodes run the hour 10 mark, hour 20, whatever. I have no clue. But that solid chunk where I can only steal maybe 40 minutes of your time, maybe a half hour, 50 minutes, oof, that's perfect. That's the perfect amount of time for me. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump into the rapid fire section. We're going to cover the most important things that I couldn't write a whole section on because honestly, they're either not interesting enough or they're just whatever. Trump meets Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago amid the Gaza ceasefire concerns. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in Florida to meet U.S. President Donald Trump as efforts to implement the fragile Gaza ceasefire plan face political and diplomatic hurdles. Talks focused on the second phase of the ceasefire, including disarmament of Hamas and the international stabilization forces, which move it in as soon as you can, because we got to Christ up that land, folks. We got to really move the Christians in. I want the Christians back on their land. Yeah, that's the eventual plan. The Jews, we're working with them right now, but only to gain their trust, and then we'll sneak the Christians back in like we've always belonged. The U.S. has pledged $2 billion in humanitarian aid to the UN amid global funding cuts. The United States government has announced $2 billion in a pledge for the United Nations humanitarian assistance, partly in a response to deep cuts in foreign aid in 2025, a move meant to help vulnerable populations worldwide. Meanwhile, China launches extensive military drills around Taiwan because it's only a matter of time, as they say in Hamilton. Beijing has started large-scale live-fire military exercises around Taiwan, simulating efforts to cut off the island from external support. The drills are being interpreted as a warning against external interference. I mean, obviously, I don't think that they have any interest in us interfering whatsoever, because, listen, whatever you think about the China-Taiwan conflict, they have a clear and obvious interest of wanting to take it back. And Xi Jinping has said it's not a matter of if, but when we take Taiwan. We are going to take it back. Listen, I think that if the people of Taiwan want to be independent, they can be. If polls show kind of a support of the current structure where it's kind of half its own country, half it's not, half, you know, they have their own elected president, half China still publicly claims them and will not do trade with you if you say that it's not a part of China. You know what I mean? Like, it has this weird pseudo country relationship, and in a weird way, a lot of them poll wise support that continuing in some fashion. With eventual independence on a lot of people's minds, which, you know, I'm not one to tell anybody in East Asia how they're supposed to be living. But China has always had an obvious interest. The West, obviously, it's, strategically, the United States has to defend Taiwan. Otherwise, it's going to make us look horrible to the rest of the world. It's going to make us look like we're not willing to stand for our allies or for the values of the West, quite frankly. Stand for it when it's being affronted by a communist enemy. So there is a lot to look at with this whole Taiwan situation, but, arguably this is a chess move that the United States is going to be trapped in. It is going to be a sort of check, and only time will tell if it is going to be a checkmate. There's no real way to tell until they make their move. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll jump into the progress and tensions in the Ukraine peace negotiations. President Trump and Ukraine President Zelensky reportedly made progress toward a peace framework, but Russia claims Ukraine conducted a drone attack on Putin's residence, a claim Kiev denies. Peace efforts still remain fragile. This claim has circulated quite a bit. Russia continues to claim that his residence was personally attacked. The drone itself has been in custody. They are personally claiming that it is of Ukrainian origin. Ukraine continues to deny that it is one of theirs, as they would. They are obviously going, we're on the verge of a peace deal. We wouldn't want to assassinate the president, but there is clear and obvious signs of maybe this could be foreign meddling. This could be a larger nation. This could be a foreign nation going ahead and simulating an attack on, one of these countries' foreign leaders. If I would say Zelensky, watch his house, you know what I mean? If you see that there is instances of, let's say Vladimir Putin, he dies. Let's say that were to happen. Someone assumes his power, maybe they don't, maybe you create a serious situation where, you see the merging of ISIS and whatnot, where it's just kind of a vacuumless, powerless, whatever, the power vacuum, the state just collapses in on itself. Whatever the eventual result of killing the president would be, all that you know is that Ukraine would be done. They would have moved full force on it. I'm sorry to say that, I don't think that Ukraine would have been this stupid to try to make this kind of a move. But I've been wrong in the past. Only time will tell. So, humanitarian aid crisis, it's continuing to worsen in Gaza. Speaking of Israel, due to winter weather, a winter weather storm has also intensified the suffering among the displaced Palestinians in Gaza, where flooding, freezing rain, and inadequate shelter have exacerbated the humanitarian needs, obviously. You put a bunch of needy people in the cold, it's not going to make them any better, it's just going to make them Minneapolis. Renewed violence in Sudan displaces tens of thousands of folks. The United Nations reports that more than 10,000 people have been displaced in Sudan over the past 3 days amid intense fighting between the rival military factions in the west and the south of the country. There's renewed sparking of tensions. They couldn't keep their heads on straight. That's pretty much the only thing that you can say, is that it's over, and you could see it coming a mile away if you're a thinking person, in all honesty. You can see that when these kind of not exactly, I don't know how to put it, when these fragile peace treaties are not going to last. You can always see it. It's like a bad relationship. You look at it and you go, okay, I don't see that working out long term. But then some people surprise you, and then you become Scotland and England. You know what I mean? First round of the junta-run elections in Burma, Myanmar, as some of you may know it, has drew a low turnout. Wouldn't you be surprised, as military rulers in Burma have conducted the first phase of elections since toppling the democratic government in 2021, with only about one-third of eligible voters participating amid criticism from human rights observers. Obviously. Border ceasefire has been firmed between Thailand and Cambodia. If you didn't know, they've been having a couple scraps, these two little boys. Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to strengthen their ceasefire after weeks of intense border clashes that have displaced hundreds of thousands of civilians. China has facilitated the talks in Beijing. Good move on their chessboard. Good move on their point to China. There you go. That's all I can say. Markets and economy, stocks ease after a record year. World indexes set for gains. The United States and global stock indexes eased on a light holiday trading as markets head for double-digit annual gains. Investors monitor geopolitical developments and interest rate expectations. Hell yeah. Get into the trading next year, maybe. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it could be jinxing the entire next year. We'll be doing our predictions, obviously December 31st, but we'll see how correct I am on that day. Folks, I want to go ahead and I want to jump into our final story. It's covering something interesting. It's not listen, we have 2 more days of 2025. We'll be covering fun stories in those days. But in the meantime, we're going to cover something real, something you got to look out for. Folks, more flu cases than usual have been reported across the United States. As of December 2025, the United States is experiencing an increase in the influenza activity, with Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, reporting sustained elevated levels across multiple indicators, officially signaling signaling at the start of 2025 to 2026 flu season. According to the CDC's FluView report, for the week ending December 13th, 2025, seasonal influenza activity continues to rise nationwide, with the timing similar to several past seasons. Preliminary estimates from the CDC indicate at least 4.6 million illnesses and 49,000 hospitalizations and 1,900 deaths from the flu this season. Interestingly enough, those severity indicators remain low at this early stage. The dominant strain circulating this influenza is H3N2, with approximately 90% of characterized H3N2 viruses belonging to the new subclade K variant, which has driven outbreaks in other countries like Japan, the UK, and Canada earlier this year. The United States flu activity is particularly high in states such as New York, Colorado, Louisiana, and New Jersey, where influenza-like illnesses are at levels classified as high or very high. New York State reported a record 71,123 positive flu cases for the week ending December 20th, 2025, the highest single week total since we began tracking in 2004, while some areas show cases up to 5 times higher than at this point last year. While the increase aligns with historical patterns for some seasons, certain regions are seeing a sharper rise, in particular potently influenced by the subclade K variant's mutations, which may partially evade immunity from prior infections or vaccinations. The CDC notes that hospitalization rates are trending upward, but remain below peaks from recent high-severity seasons. Vaccination uptake is slightly lower than last year, with 47.6 million doses administered at retail pharmacies and medical offices so far. I gotta admit, I'm one of those young fellas where I'm like, it's my winter years in my 20s. I don't think I need a vaccine, I'm gonna be honest with you. For the flu, at least, I'm not one of those people that's like, I don't need a vaccine for death. It's like, no, what? Excuse you. If you had a vaccine for death, sure, I'd take it. Why not? But I'm not one of these people that's like, I don't want a vaccine for anything. I just am like, that I'm a decently healthy person. When I was fat, I would have taken the vaccine. If I was 22 and still like fat, and if I was still 260 plus or whatever, yeah, I would have taken the vaccine, because then I'd have breathing problems and shit. But now, due to the fact that I'm in a decent weight category, I'm able to fight off infections so much easier. I'm able to, get over illnesses so much quicker. It's building my immune system, you know what I mean? It's good for you. It is good for you to some extent to be sick. It helps keep you youthful in some ways. I know that I sound like one of those TikTok or whatever is telling you to get the mumps. I'm not. I'm telling you to maybe get the cold once in a while, and you're not going to die. I'm saying that maybe don't freak out on vitamin C every time you get sick, because you're just overloading. You're going to make your piss turn yellow. That's it. That's all you're going to do, because it's water soluble. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump to this CBS News clip, and then I will excuse the class for today. Thank you so much for being here and getting your news from me today, so that we could just have a nice little chat, you and I.
Flu cases are on the rise as we head into the new year. 17 states, cities, and territories across the U.S. are reporting high to very high levels of the flu. That includes right here in New York City. So far, nearly 5 million cases have been reported nationwide, and at least 1,900 people have died. And that might be because fewer Americans are getting their flu.
Less than people are getting the flu shot. Well, okay, we have to do the COVID thing. With COVID or from COVID? Are people done? Listen, I recently had a death in the family. It's unfortunate. It happens. But did this you cannot count when they count someone's death, they cannot go ahead and say, did this person die with the flu? Oh yeah, we'll just count it as they died from the flu. You can't do that. If this person died of a pre-existing condition, if they've been living with it, if they received it over the last few weeks, whatever, if it's whatever, it's we don't say that Freddie Mercury died of pneumonia. We say that Freddie Mercury died of AIDS. Like, we don't say that, whatever, so-and-so was taken out by dementia. They were taken out by the flu. We say they were taken out by dementia, which they lived with for however many years. You know what I mean? Like, if this person has a pre-existing condition, which I'm sure some of these people may have had, maybe they have had elevated heart, conditions, maybe they have had instances of, because this is real. You want to talk about respiratory illnesses, you want to talk about people who have diagnosable hypertension issues and whatnot. They're not the same category as like a healthy adult, saying that, oh, there's more instances of these fellas dying with the flu, so you need to get your vaccine because you are hurting more people. That's not accurate. That's not how you do health science. I'm sorry to say it. That's not, it's who's it's what's it's, you know what I mean? It's pointing in 6 other directions.
Flu shot. At this time last year, 13 million more flu vaccine doses had been administered. Katie Weiss has more on the warning from doctors.
It has become a refrain we've heard all fall. Get your flu shot. This winter, doctors are still saying it as the number of flu cases is up coast to coast.
My hope is that we're actually getting closer to the peak now.
The CDC reports that flu levels are the highest in New York, Colorado, and Louisiana.
It's just chaos all around.
At this Walgreens in New York City, pharmacist Ashley Almonte got her flu shot.
I've seen so many people get it that it's actually scaring me, so I just want to make sure I was safe.
Urgent care centers and hospitals in the city have faced a spike of flu patients even earlier than usual in the season. Some schools in Georgia and Kansas had so many students sick with the flu they had to close, prompting warnings from health officials concerned about spread from holiday travel.
We recognize you want to be together, but if you're ill, the best way to kind of keep your family safe is to say, maybe I shouldn't travel.
Ann Falkenhagen flew out of the New Orleans airport for a holiday vacation last week.
Suddenly, I start having this little scratch in my throat, so from being well to being very unwell within an hour.
She came back with the flu. You tell me what that was like for you.
You just start aching.
Are you seriously interviewing a lady so what did that feel like? We've all had the flu. What are you doing? Is this actually the news? I understand. Listen, when it was COVID and we didn't understand the effects that it was having on people's bodies, and it was like, hey, how did COVID feel for you? And it was actually interesting to hear people's symptoms because it was like, oh, I couldn't smell. Oh, I could actually smell perfectly fine. Oh, I couldn't taste this. I actually could taste perfectly whatever. People's instances of COVID were different. Flu is just flu. You feel like shit. Your bones ache. You throw up. You shit. Whatever. You sweat. All of that. That's how it's like. What is that? What are you doing? You interview this lady with a lazy eye. I'm sorry to say it, but also who doesn't look like she has a very good metabolic health. She looks like she eats too much. I'm sorry to say it. It's one of these people where it's like you look like they fried their own thyroid through years of either. It looks like I can see liver lines, which indicates maybe instances of drinking. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to assume this lady's thing, but if you can see liver lines and whatnot, that indicates a history of alcoholism. I'm just saying, you're not the picture of health. I don't understand why you decided to interview Night of the Living Dead in order to get a clear picture of what most people's cases of flu are going to look like. You can't go to the crypt keeper and say this is what most scary storytellers look like, except for Stephen King. That's the only time it counts.
Bone, your skin hurt, the headache is 24/7. I don't wish this on anybody.
Their headache, you interview this Dutch lady, their headache is just ridiculous.
Louisiana, the number of people hospitalized by the flu has more than doubled in less than a month. Doctors here tell me they're preparing for that number to keep rising. For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Katie Weiss in New Orleans.
Are you related to Barry?
It's bad out there, so I went and got my flu shot a couple of weeks ago. In fact, you can do it right here at CBS with the nurse, and so I did it here because it's just so worrisome. And we have a 3-year-old. We want to keep her safe. She got her flu shot early on, but even people who have gotten their flu shot are getting sick because I think this year's flu shot is good, but not good enough for this variant.
So then why get it?
I call out myself. I didn't get my flu shot because I don't feel like I ever have time to feel crappy for a couple days. I'm here.
You're here
Real.
all the time.
So maybe I'll do it right here.
Right down the hallway.
All right.
Go get microchipped right down the hallway. I'm kidding, everybody. health experts, they're emphasizing that it's not too late to get vaccinated, people. It's not too late. If you have a CVS in your town, you can take care of it right there, as the current trivalent flu vaccine offers partial protection against the subclade K, and good matches against other circulating strains. The CDC recommends annual vaccination for everyone 6 months and older. That's kind of ridiculous to me. I would say that it's like, okay, children, get your kids vaccinated. I don't give a shit. After the age of 18, I'd say that you can start developing your own immune system. That's what I started doing, you know what I mean? I haven't had a flu shot since 2020, I'm going to be honest with you. I gave it up right after I got the COVID vaccine, and then got long haul COVID, which ended up fucking up my immune system, fucking up my sense of smell, and I ended up losing 80 pounds in a few months. It was pretty interesting. But, you know, activity is expected to continue to rise for the next few weeks, especially amid holiday travel and gatherings. So, you know, for your and grandma's sake, maybe stop licking doorknobs or something. Is that all I can say? Don't get sick. Is that it? Sure, don't get sick. That's the evidence. That's the advice. People, don't get sick. Happy holidays. Folks, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I had an even better one. I had an even better time than you did, maybe. Or wait, I can see that smile on your face. I can see that you had a good time. I know you did. Well, I hope that if you had an amazing time, please subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it. I had a wonderful time collecting these stories for you, and I do it practically every day of every week, Monday through Friday, and then we take the weekend off. So if you want more, subscribe for more. In the meantime, this has been your Brain on Air with Ollie Vogt Larson. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you in tomorrow's episode and the broadcast. Bye-bye.